Hello YouTube, welcome. If you're watching this, it's because we deemed that this playthrough was good enough to load to YouTube for you to enjoy. So I'm going into this completely blind. I don't know anything about this game. I just know that I was told a long time ago it could potentially be cool for the stream, and I'm deciding to play it. So yeah, leave a thumbs up, leave a comment, follow the links in the description, watch my other playthroughs. Hopefully you enjoy it. I'm excited about it. We'll see where it goes. I know nothing about it. I am literally enjoying this on the fly. Maybe there will be analysis, maybe there won't. I have no idea. So without further ado, we're going to play Eliza. Which takes place in Seattle, apparently. Chapter 1.
I had a dream this morning, but I can't remember what it was. It all vanished when the alarm went off.
Evelyn is saying that.
First time that's happened in a while. I've been drifting away inside my own world for too long. It's time for me to wake up.
What are you supposed to do on the light rail? Use your phone, I guess. Or look around.
Next stop, Capitol Hill Station.
Is she sleeping? I hope she doesn't miss her stop. Must be commuting to work. Maybe it's her first day at a new job, too. Seems unlikely. Phone's buzzing. Rico, thank you for the 13 months. Whoa, look at it. Look at this operating system. Hello, Evelyn. Swift Solitaire. I'll give this game another try soon. Not right now, though. Zip chat. No recent chats. Not feeling very gabby today? Hey, that's valid. When you're in a talkative mood again, your recent chats will be available here. Eliza Proxy. You've not received any messages yet. Wellness. The gym already nags me about not working out. I don't need more of that. Bijou. This was fun, but I think I'm done with it now. I might look at this later when I want to relax. Swift Mail. Avalon Fitness. Evelyn, we want you back. Was it something we said? Evelyn, we've noticed you haven't checked into your customized personal training plan at Avalon Fitness in the last 971 days. We get it. Life doesn't always move in a straight line, but that's why we're offering a special 25-point bonus to your Avalon Prestige if you check in again within the next 2 weeks. There's never been a better time to get your health back on track. Avalon Fitness, strength quantified. That's almost 3 years. Proxy Coordination Center. Skanda Orientation Contractor. Dear Evelyn Ishino Aubrey, congratulations! You're taking the first step on an exciting and rewarding career with the Skanda family. Please show up promptly for your orientation meeting at 9 a.m. Friday, January 3rd. Name, Ishino Aubrey Evelyn. Title, Proxy Level 1. Classification, Contingent Staff. Contract Agency, Capstone. Location, Eliza Counseling Center, Queen Anne, Seattle, Washington. We're looking forward to working with you. Proxy Coordination Center, Skanda, Inc. You will do it. I believe in you. Oh, I sent myself an email. You will do it. I believe in you. Nice. Eliza, powered by Skanda. It's so strange to see it like this. Okay, what should I be doing here? Should I check in at the front desk? Wait, there's a woman I met at an orientation meeting last week.
Hi, you're Evelyn, right? You remember me? That's impressive. There were a lot of people at that orientation.
Of course. I've done this for a while now, so I'm pretty good at putting names to faces. People always say they're bad at it, but it's a skill you can practice just like any other.
True.
In case you forgot, though, I'm Ray.
Thanks, Ray.
Come to me with all your questions, comments, complaints, whatever. And if you look around and can't find me, I'm probably at one of the other 2 counseling centers I'm running right now. So you can count on me being back soon.
3 centers. Sounds like a lot of work.
Oh, it is a lot of work.
You're so impressive, Ray. Having a hard time. That tone's a little bit patronizing. Just a little bit patronizing.
This is kind of a temporary thing. We're growing fast, and hiring is one of our big challenges. That means there's decent opportunity for advancement here, if that's something you're looking to do.
Interesting or probably not, but that's good to know. That's something you're looking to do. Well, am I here for a job? Interesting.
Interesting.
Shall we start with a quick tour of the office?
Race starts with the tastefully appointed lobby. There are a few people already waiting for their counseling sessions to start.
You could say the Queen Anne office is Eliza's flagship location. It has 12 individual counseling rooms. Currently, we're up to seeing almost 100 clients a day here.
100 a day? That's so many.
It depends on how many therapists you have.
The growth trend isn't stopping either. Demand for Eliza keeps exceeding our expectations, especially here in Seattle for whatever reason. We're already looking at adding more capacity here, either that or opening another location close by.
Supply side therapy here.
Personally, I think having a single office with 24 counseling rooms might seem a little unfriendly, so I hope we go for a second location.
You know, that's not entirely untrue. There is something to be said for a lot of people about a sense of intimacy in a therapy practice, and if you start to expand out to a whole lot where you have like multiple rooms, it starts to feel sort of like corporatized and sterile, and that will turn people off. So I actually appreciate what she said there. They would be better off having 2 smaller locations than having like one giant large location. You start to feel like cattle, even though you're not. Like, you could have a great therapist who's very personally attending to you and it be no problem at all. But some people really struggle with that like meta vibe on the practice that they're attending. That's definitely a thing. There's a lot of shit that people worry about, therapists and clients, that really doesn't matter. But that's one of those things that I do believe makes a difference in how people feel seen and felt. It's kind of like going to a large university where you're in a lecture hall versus in a small university where your classes are like 10 people. The education itself may be equally good. It's just that vibe for some people really doesn't sit well with them. So yeah, I appreciate that.
I like to think of Eliza centers like cafes or coffee shops. A few small ones is better than one big one.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Makes sense.
Counseling centers like coffee shops? Odd metaphor. Ray leads me into one of the counseling rooms.
And here's where the magic happens, in these little rooms.
I'm interested to see what this Eliza thing is. I'm getting a sense it's some sort of like AI or something.
You'll get your assignments from the Eliza app on your phone.
Okay.
Oh, one thing to note, it's always a good idea to double-check the headset to make sure it's working properly before you dive in. We've had some quality control issues lately.
Okay. That doesn't inspire confidence. We've had quality control issues lately. Maybe get that on lockdown before we bring more. Okay, whatever. Oh boy. Ooh.
After that, all you need to do is initiate the session and follow the instructions.
Okay.
Make sense so far? Any questions for me?
So many. What are the quality control issues? Friends, if you are ever in this position, whether you are at a medical doctor's office, a lawyer's office, a therapist's office, a social worker's office, whatever it may be, when you are presented with an opportunity to ask questions and you have had any kind of feelings in any kind of direction, you should absolutely take that opportunity to ask any questions you have and evaluate the response. So she just said we've had some quality control issues. I would be like, what does that mean? And I am absolutely evaluating that response. I am seeing if she squirms. I am seeing if she is dodgy. I am seeing how confident she is in her response and how detailed she is. Like, you should evaluate these types of things. If your therapist says something that feels a bit funky to you, you should ask them about it. Be direct. It's a very important thing. A lot of people will bypass this because they don't want to make it awkward, and because there's cost sunk, and they want to just comply and be good and be a good little be a good little client. You don't want to be in that position. You absolutely, not that you have to be like harshly critical and annoying about it, but you absolutely can ask questions that you have, and your therapist should respond to those in kind. It's so important to do that. So in this type of scenario, ask the questions if you have them. And apparently, Evelyn doesn't have any questions. I think I got it.
I think I got it.
Great.
So I just did that whole spiel, and then Evelyn has no questions.
Before I go, just a few reminders of things we covered in orientation. No deviating from the script that Eliza gives you.
That's a red flag.
No checking your smartphone or anything else that would take your attention away from the client during the session.
That's fine. I agree with that.
Yes, I understand.
Ray stops for a moment and looks me over.
It looks like you're dressed acceptably as well. Nothing snazzy, but it'll do.
Thanks.
You wouldn't believe the outfits some people come in here wearing.
DrMick's gonna have a hard time with this place if this keeps going in this direction. Oh no. Oh my God. As a therapist that does therapy and has done therapy for years looking like this, I very much believe that what you wear doesn't matter even a tiny bit. Now, there are some clients who do care about how their therapist presents themselves. That is perfectly okay. If you need a therapist that's wearing nice ass clothes or whatever, fine. That is perfectly okay. You can screen a therapist out for that. I would argue that you are really missing the mark if you're more focused on what your therapist is wearing than how skilled they are as a therapist, but you do you. But when therapists perpetuate the notion that you are supposed to present in a particular type of way, that crystallizes a bit of a hierarchy, and it also crystallizes a dynamic that a lot of clients, potential clients, are afraid of, which is that therapists see themselves as being a bit more like hoity-toity and holier than thou, and that is not a good vibe to inject. Like, ultimately, at the end of the day, we're people who possess skills to be able to work with you on the things that you bring into therapy. And what I'm wearing while I do that is absolutely inconsequential to my ability to do my job. It's not like I'm on a construction site where I need to wear a hard hat to comply with OSHA. So, I mean, I understand, like, I'm not going to do therapy in a bathing suit. But if you lived on South Beach and your therapist had a cabana that was HIPAA compliant and they were wearing board shorts and you were wearing a bikini, like, cool, go for it. Like, you know, like, that stuff doesn't really matter. There's nothing in the code of ethics that says what a therapist has to wear. So I don't like the judgment vibe here on the idea of, like, well, you look whatever. You wouldn't believe the outfits people come in here wearing. If we expect clients to come as they are, therapists should also be able to come as they are. Like, the idea that you have to be all buttoned up and dressy really perpetuates a dynamic that's not great.
Okay, let me double check to make sure you're all set up in the system.
Ray takes out her phone and swipes a few times.
Yep, looks like you're all good to go. Okay, ready to start your first counseling session as an Eliza proxy?
Guess so. I'm still not sure I understand. I gotta say, I'm not sure I understand.
I'm still not sure I understand.
Don't worry, there's basically nothing you can do to mess it up.
Except deviate from the script or pull my phone out, right?
You just follow the prompts. It's a really impressive system.
Okay, so my hypothesis on this is that Eliza is some sort of like AI counseling platform, and they use humans as proxies to deliver what the Eliza AI tells them to say. So it essentially makes it so that instead of interfacing with a computer, you're interfacing with an actual human, but that human's relaying the messages. That's my guess. I don't know how true that is, but that's the vibe I'm getting from this.
If you want, have a look around the counseling office first. Get comfortable. I'll check in with you afterward.
Okay. Do I want coffee? Actually, I think I'll skip it. Only if they got decaf over there. Oh god, phone's blowing up. So there are dozens of these locations already. Skanda's putting in some serious investment into this. I hope spring comes soon. At least the days are getting longer now. I hear that. Eliza Proxy, 2 notifications. Ed Park, important. Stick to the script. All. As Eliza counseling centers continue to open across the country, I want to take a moment to remind all provider proxies, please avoid deviating from the provided script. I know that it is tempting to come to conclusions about your clients on your own, but Eliza will not work if proxies differ from its judgments. Keep in mind that you are present only in order to provide a human touch to an interaction that is fundamentally between the client and Eliza. Continual violation of this policy may result in reprimand or even termination. Thank you for your attention, Ed. Edwin Park, Eliza's service director. I gotta believe there's some sort of liability reason why he's doing that. Like, that is, you can't be so dense as to believe that improvisation in the presence of a human is bad. Like, particularly, like, I swear to God, half my job is improv. Therapists who are bad at improv struggle a lot more than therapists who are willing to engage in the improvisational nature of what it is. And so because you're working with a human, you're working with a subjective experience. It's a moving target. So relying on an AI to read that and make judgments is, I mean, I have no idea how robust this AI platform is, but I have to believe that his aversion to the people providing the Eliza proxy is twofold. It's got to be a liability thing more than anything else, because you have a non-trained therapist. The people that are proxies for this, I assume, are not therapists. They're people that are reading a script and providing the human touch. So if a person deviates from that without any kind of credential to deviate, that could put them in serious jeopardy. And that also may not be what the clients are consenting to when they come here. So this is why we talk about how important it is to read your consent agreement, because if you came to a place like this and you knew that you were getting therapy provided via proxy human, by an AI, that's what you consent to. And so if your human deviates from that and you're not aware that they've deviated from the script, you are now engaging in unconsensual therapy, which is not good with a person who doesn't possess the credentials to do that. So as much as we might look at this with Ed and go, that's gross, it makes sense to me why he would send that message from an admin, ethical, and consent standpoint, because we don't know what the service agreement these people are signing is. Like, I really want to know what clients are expecting when they come into this place. Because if they're expecting an AI to engage with an AI via a human and that is fully consented to and understood, then what they're doing is okay, so long as like it's meeting some level of like ethical and HIPAA standard. I mean, it doesn't feel good for me as a therapist who values improv, but if you're not going to work, if you're not going to have actual credentialed people in here, you got to lay the law down. All right, Proxy Coordination Center. Welcome. Dear Evelyn Ishino Aubrey, thank you for signing up as an Eliza proxy. Eliza is a rapidly growing counseling service driven by the world's most advanced AI. As a proxy, you serve as the personal touch that allows our clients to hear what they need to hear from a real human being, not a robot or virtual avatar like our competitors. This is the official Eliza app for proxies. In it, you can view important messages from Skanda, your session history, and your current level and badges. Enjoy your experience helping people help themselves with Eliza, Proxy Coordination Center, Skanda, Inc. Do not reply to this message. It is sent from an unmonitored email address. For general inquiries or to request support for your Eliza proxy account, visit the Skanda support portal. We get badges. Oh boy. Time to get started. Okay, so apparently I am going to be analyzing the ever-living shit out of this game. So strap in. It really looks like a therapist's office in here. Soft lighting, soothing art on the walls. Was this how I imagined it working? I can't remember anymore. The future happened without me. Welcome to Eliza, version 10.3.3. Oh boy. Eliza AAR headset bootloader. Here we go. Name, Darren Willows. Phase, introduction, heart rate, respiration, vocal distress, EPR, affect, emotion, receptivity. Oh boy. Oh god. This is like super advanced biofeedback. Oh boy. Oh god. Okay. These are all things that are okay to be analyzed. Like, it's okay to have this info, but it starts to feel gross when it's done by a automated system rather than via like the human contact on this. Like, it's okay. Like, seeing heart rate and respiration can actually be very helpful. There's something called biofeedback that some therapists are trained to do. You actually get hooked up to certain monitors that monitor things like sweat conductance and heart rate and stuff like that. My wife actually did that for a few years back when we were still living in the Chicago area, and did a presentation about it. And it's actually very cool. Like, you can get, right now, one of the ways that we use biofeedback, for example, is there's like a game that it's attached to. And so you could be doing like a session or talking about something that's very distressing, and there's a car that's on the road. And when your heart rate and your respiration starts to get amplified, the car will start to like deviate off the road. And the idea behind this is that you work with the therapist to learn to regulate those things when you start to feel the physiological arousal, and you have direct, immediate feedback by the car getting back online on the track and staying steady when you're doing that. It's not something that you're just like throwing to the wolves and be like, well, God, breathe lighter or the car's going to crash. Like, it's not like that. It's you've learned how to recognize your physiological responses and engage in meaningful, thoughtful breathing, and you get direct feedback that is showing you that as you're talking about something that's stressful, you are doing a good job regulating some of the physiological things that happen in your body. So this is not a bad thing to have. It's just very overwhelming when you have somebody who's not a therapist looking at this, and when an AI is analyzing it to try to get a read on what that person is bringing. And I'm going to be interested to see how it combines the subjective experience with this information. So It feels gross because it feels very analytical and non-personal, and that makes sense, but that's why you need to have a human touch with things like this. The headset activates. A distant-looking man shuffles into the room and sits down across from me. Why did I not play this like 10 years ago? Oh, okay. This dude's struggling. Hello, Darren. Or maybe this is me. Okay, so his heart rate, 76 beats per minute, not super high, respiration, vocal distress, can't read, EPR, affect, emotion, receptivity. Okay. Proxy response. Hello, Darren. So I have to read the script. Oh, this is going to be really hard for me. If it gives me opportunities to deviate, this is going to be really hard for me. All right, here we go.
Hello, Darren.
Hi.
You found the place okay?
You found the place okay?
Obviously he did. He's sitting here. Oh, bring it in, bring it in, bring it in. Bring it in, Ryan. Don't deviate. I hate that kind of small talk. Obviously, he found the place. He's sitting here. And he's probably nervous. And be like, how you doing? It's good to meet you. Like, I appreciate you being here today. Anything besides, you found the place okay? That's the most sterile shit ever. Oh, my God. Hi, Darren. It's good to meet you. I appreciate that you're here. I'm looking forward to working with you. Anything beyond that.
Yeah.
Hope you didn't get rained on too much.
Hope you didn't get rained on too much.
Oh, God. This is a video game and it is causing my heart rate to just like explode. Oh my God. Okay.
No, it was fine.
It's been raining a lot, hasn't it?
He didn't respond. Oh, we're losing him. We're losing him, Eliza. Oh!
It's supposed to clear up later today.
Oh, that's good. Little sun once in a while, but
What a nice guy to be giving me the benefit of the doubt on this. All right, down to business.
Darren, what brings you here today?
well,
I'm all for getting to business. I'm all for using the space the way in which it was intended to be used. I cannot overstate. If you are a therapist watching this, you are a therapist watching me play this right now, or somebody who hopes someday to be a therapist watching me play this right now. For the love of God, or whatever it is you pray to or care about, let the person know that you appreciate that they are here. Engage with the vulnerability in the human. You don't have to overdo it. Just, hey man, really glad you're here. I appreciate that I have the opportunity to talk with you. It means a lot that you were willing to come in and give me a shot. And feel free to give me feedback along the way. I want to make sure that you and I are vibing and that this feels like a good experience for you. So, with that said, what brings you in? Like, that's so much more personal right? Even just it's great to see you. I'm glad you're here today. Thanks for making it out. The weather sucks ass, and you still came in. I appreciate that. That's the human touch on this. It's so necessary for this, because if you don't do that and you immediately get into Darren, what brings you in today, it just feels so clinical. It's so sterile. And people feel that. It causes disconnect. It very clearly establishes that you are a therapist and they are a client. Not that you are two people with differing levels of expertise on the issue, on the subjective experience of what this person has, and that you're working together to figure things out, which is the vibe you want.
I just feel empty inside. Like there was supposed to be something there, but it's missing.
Okay. And how long has that been going on for you? Is that something that's recent, or is that something that is been going on for a long time? I'm going to give you guys what my questions would be, and then we're going to compare it. We're going to compare it with what Eliza generates, because that's the only way I'm going to be able to handle this. This may actually be the closest that you guys ever get to seeing me do therapy on stream.
I go to work, I do my work, I go home, but there's nothing there.
And do you is there ever a time where you felt like there was something there? Is this something that you feel in contrast to something? Or is this something that is, again, like been around for a long time? Like, can you describe the nothing for me? How do you know that it's nothing? I'm really curious about that.
I feel like I'm simulating a person.
Say more about that. What does that mean?
Like, I feel like just hollow and like I'm not even alive.
And that sounds like it's pretty distressing to you.
Like a ghost or something.
How long have you felt this way?
For a long time.
Can you quantify that for me? How long would you say? Is this like a lifelong thing? Is this since you've become an adult? Is there something that happened in your life that precipitated this? I realize it's a lot of questions that I'm asking you, but I want to make sure that I really understand what it is that you're trying to describe to me, because I can imagine that feeling hollow and nothing feels different for different people. So I really want to understand what that means for you.
It comes and goes, but the last 2 weeks is when it really started to get bad.
Okay. Did something happen within the last 2 weeks?
It just suddenly came over me, the way things are going in this world.
So more of a general malaise that popped up out of nowhere?
There's no future for humanity. There's no journey toward anything.
Okay, I wouldn't say this to him, but so something existential going on, obviously. And that's going to be something I really want to understand better before I try to poke my head in. By the way, good therapists wait and they pick their spots. Young therapists have a tendency to want to jump into this type of thing really early and go for some sort of intervention or try to fix it or whatever. The older you get, the more experience you get as a therapist, the more you realize that you are way better off sitting back and saying something like, tell me more about that. Like, what about that? The no journey toward anything sounds like something really got into your head about this. I don't agree or disagree with you. I'm just curious, where is this coming from? And why this is something that's so important to you.
We're being cruel to each other just to be cruel. The people who run things don't care about anything except themselves and can't stop them. Everyone is driven by greed. Just greed. Everyone wants to win. Everyone wants to get rich. And we're all gonna die because of it.
You're not entirely wrong. Now, take a look at this over here on the left. You can't totally see it because of my face blocking it, but it says sentiment analyzer. Hollow, cruel, greed, die, negative. So Eliza is qualifying the statements that he's making as either positive or negative. And, I wouldn't say that it's entirely wrong necessarily, but that binary is a bit... It sounds like you think about this a lot.
The damage we're doing to the planet is irreversible. We're destroying everything, and we can't even manage to stop ourselves.
And Darren, is your sense that you are an active participant in this, or do you see yourself as somebody who is antithetical to that, and it's bothering you because is it bothering you because you're watching it from afar and you're doing the best that you can? Or is it more that you feel like you're also participating in this and that's bothering you? You may notice as I do this, I ask a lot of or questions. And a lot of times that's a helpful way to get a feel for the types of I'm not trying to lead anybody in any particular direction, but I do like to try to take the idea that there's not just one myopic way to look at these things, and a nice way to churn my assessment in certain directions where I can get more open-ended is to ask some either or questions sometimes. And if neither one fits, people will usually say, nah, neither one, it's more this. So that's a tactic that I've found over the years is really helpful. And yeah, it helps them feel like they have more control over their response. It gives them something to consider. Like, okay, so you've presented these options. Which one feels better for me? Which one it facilitates introspection. Without qualifying part, do you write down or note down words like those in therapy? I never take notes in therapy, ever. I never take notes. I think it completely depersonalizes therapy. All right, this isn't too bad.
Do you remember anything in particular that caused these feelings?
Not so much feelings or judgments, but that's splitting hairs.
The state of the world is what's causing these feelings. I was on a walk the other day. I thought maybe I could clear my head. And all I could see was construction cranes and new development and oceans of money flowing in, distorting everything. Suddenly the whole city felt so damaged, so corrupted.
He's a pretty observational dude. And seems to have a particular type of standard that he is holding his reality against, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But again, just trying to get a beat a little bit on what this guy is all about and how he ticks. Where did I study? I got my master's degree at Northwestern University and my PhD at Virginia Tech.
I felt like I was an alien in a hostile world, a world that hated me.
Okay. Not going to say anything about that, but that's a ping the antenna statement, which is a world that hated me. So there's some personalization there. Not saying that's a pattern that he experiences over time, and that is consistent for him, but that little part says, okay, so there's some personalization there. You see these things around you, you observe them, and then you view it sort of egocentrically, where you think that the world hates you, the world's out to get you, that because the world is not meeting the standard that you have held for it, which is not necessarily bad or good, you see that as the world doing something onto you. That's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of burden that would make things intense if that is the case. So I'm not going for that yet, but filing it away.
And we're building it. We're building this hell.
And active participation in it.
Choosing to build it right here. So what's the point? Probably overloaded your system with that, huh?
It's a great question, Darren. And I am curious if the what's the point question is something that you actually want an answer to, or if that is more of a statement of you believe there is no point, or that the point is something that you don't particularly like. Can you help me understand which one that is?
Your machine learning or whatever it is you got
See,
going
this
on
is why this sucks, because he knows that there's a machine that is reading and quantifying what he has to say instead of the human that's sitting in front of him. That sucks, because there's a meta on this that is going to suck him out of this moment. It's going to make him hyper vigilant about what he's bringing. This dude started opening up. He is in it. He's talking about his observations, his personalizations, his vulnerabilities, the existential dread that he experiences around his lived experience. And he has to contend with the fact that a robot is trying to read and quantify that in a particular way so that I can respond to him. And for so long as I don't respond to him, he has to wonder if it's because the robot says don't respond or if because the robot doesn't know how to respond, which is going to further isolate him and make him feel like shit. Oh.
Let's focus on you for the moment.
Okay, so this upcoming question I don't like. If I was going to ask it in a better way, it would be, to what extent are these feelings and perceptions facilitating distress or hurting your ability to function in your life? I wouldn't focus on work. Work is, that's the capitalist machine coming out there, and that really gets into the whole, like, your worth is built around work, and that if this is affecting work, that's what matters, which is a huge critique on psychology, which is that in some ways the only reason we have certain disorders outlined is because it affects people's ability to work, and that's a pretty valid critique in some extent. So asking about this at work, not great. I would be more likely to say, like, so all of this stuff that you're talking to me about and you're experiencing, to what extent is it affecting your ability to live your life in the way that you want it to be going?
Are these feelings you're experiencing affecting your ability to function at work?
It leaves way too much to interpretation on him.
I haven't been doing a whole lot of work. I just don't understand why I should bother. Why anyone should bother.
Which suggests to me that you're not getting out of that work what you believe you're putting into it. That there's some sort of expectation of what you would earn, which is totally understandable, that there's some sort of expectation of what you would earn in response to that you would be benefiting from as the result of doing that work, and that it's not happening for you.
Nobody in management's noticed yet, but eventually someone will, and I'll get fired.
Okay. So what is it that they would notice? Dude. Oh, man. Oh, man. Y'all are troopers for putting up with my reactions, man, because this is so painful. It's so painful. Oh, I don't want to ask this.
And how does thinking about getting fired for that make you feel?
No. No. Oh, anything but that. Oh.
Honestly, I'd feel good about it. They don't deserve me dragging them down.
Oh, man. Wow. Good for him for answering that. That's not a feeling. Good is not a feeling, but gosh, they don't deserve me dragging them down. All right, so now we've got some self-loathing in here. And it sounds like we have some projection potentially that's happening where he's seeing himself as, you know, it's sort of interesting, right? Like there's this dichotomy going on for him. He believes that the world is going in a poor direction, but simultaneously sees himself as dragging that process down. Like a process he doesn't agree with. His lack of willingness to engage at work makes sense to me. If you are part of a capitalist machine that's going in a direction that violates your personal virtues and values, then it would make sense to me why you are not participating as wholly as you might like at work. So I have to imagine that contrast is very difficult for you. So this idea that they don't deserve you dragging them down, I'm curious why you see that as dragging them down when I'm hearing from you that you don't really agree with the direction they're going in the first place.
Everyone there is smart and motivated and has a wonderful, promising career. You have beautiful, successful people.
And do you envy that? Like, is what you're saying coming from a place of envy?
We moved to a swanky new building, expensive area, fancy restaurants, fancy bars. Everything is nice.
You sound disappointed about that.
Everything is nice and I feel terrible.
So Okay, so he's dealing with some of the dissonance that a lot of people experience, which is when things are ostensibly like positive or what they believe are supposed to be positive, and yet they still don't feel good. That can really be a struggle for people. Like that's what makes depression really shitty for a lot of people. Is it's like, man, like this stuff is nice. Like I live in a decent area, the sun's out, the weather's nice, I have a job, and I still feel like shit. That's not a fun experience. Now you have to determine whether you want to judge the environment you're around or whether you want to judge yourself for not keeping up with it in the way that you think you're supposed to. And we're seeing him oscillate between those two things. He goes from blaming the environment, look at all this ritzy capitalist garbage, to, well, this ritzy capitalist garbage is actually kind of cool, and I, for some reason, can't engage in it with joy. Whose fault is it? There's like a dichotomy there. That's going to be a tough ball to untangle. But no, Eliza wants me to make a comparison between you and your coworkers.
You said you believe your coworkers are happy.
Yeah, I mean, way more than I am, at least.
The implication of that is that because they're happy, he should find some way to be happy. Like, if I'm him, I'm thinking, oh God, please, for the love of God, do not go in the direction of wondering, well, what do you think your coworkers are doing to facilitate happiness that maybe you're not doing?
They're all doing so much better than me.
Why do you say that? That's not a bad question. You got to be careful with why questions. Why questions tend to facilitate a sense of judgment from people who are on the receiving end of them. It's even if you ask something like what makes you say that, people will hear that much more warmly and softly than if you say why do you say that. Why do you say that implies that that is being compared against a standard. One of the things I learned very early on working on the National Suicide Prevention Hotline is to stay away from why questions as best you can. So it's not a bad question, it's just one that you might want to critique and ask a little bit differently.
Why do you say that?
Because they just aren't bothered by things the way I am.
That is a huge assumption. Again, not going to hold them accountable to this because we're just meeting. This idea that they aren't bothered by things the way that he is making a huge assumption about the experience of others that he really doesn't have much access to unless they've told him that they're not bothered as much as he is, and they could be hiding it just as well as he might be.
They see what's going on in the world and they just share memes about it and laugh and go on doing their jobs.
They very well could be coping. I'm not trying to give them the benefit of the doubt and poo-poo you, but we're starting to see a bit of the myopia of the way that he's viewing some of this stuff. Like he's entrenched himself as this anomaly amongst this system, and that there's something wrong with him as a result of that. These people could be coping with it just as much as he is and not know what to do and try to fit in as best they can. I'm not going to say that. Again, these are the things where you learn whether you say them or not to people. I'm never going to say this to him immediately. This is something that over time, when we've built a relationship and I hear this type of sentiment over and over again, I'm going to say something like, you know, I noticed, Darren, that you have a tendency to assume that other people are doing better than you, and you compare yourself to them using incomplete data. And I have a sense that that's hurting you because you're beating yourself up for things that other people might be experiencing this just as harshly as you are. We don't know.
The real horror of it doesn't get through to them. They still want to achieve their goals. They're still happy.
Yeah, and this is why that comparison to coworkers question was really stupid, because now he's into the comparison game between himself and the people around him, which is dangerous. It's a terrible place to be in. I want to be more focused on what's going on for Darren. I want to know his experience. If comparing himself to people is part of how he is generating and understanding his experience, that's something worth going at. But otherwise, I don't care about your coworkers.
They're getting promotions and falling in love and getting married and taking these wonderful trips to Japan or Sweden or wherever.
Again, right? There's dissonance there. Is that something you're saying because you envy it and you want it for yourself? Or is this something that you look at wonderful trips and getting married and you say, I don't really like those things and I'm annoyed that people are engaging with them? Where do you fall on that?
Big mountains and expensive food on their timeline.
This is a great question. Cool with this one.
Would you be happy if you had those things too?
I don't know. I don't have them.
Fair. But there's a reason why I asked you that question, Darren. Like, and again, it's for the reasons that I just described. I'm not going to rehash that. Seeing it be like, I don't know, I don't have them. There's a bit of a resistance there, an annoyance in that question. It's understandable. And so that's a moment as a therapist where I think it's very important for me to explain why I asked that question. The reason I asked that is because
I don't have anything to be happy about. Look, all I want is to understand why this is happening, why I'm here.
help me understand, what is this?
I mean, there has to be a reason, right?
So you're talking about life in general.
Because otherwise, why do I exist? Why?
It's an age-long question that a lot of people have been trying to get answers to, and unfortunately none of us really know, Darren.
This pain, this one thing after another, and what's the point?
Notice you've asked me that question a few times. I've heard you say, what's the point? And different people have different understandings of what a point is. Do you know what, like, is there even a point that you would be comfortable sinking your teeth into if it presented itself? Or is this something, like, are you searching for something and you have no idea what it is?
Do I have any cause to be hopeful about anything? Look at this world. Really, really look and tell me with a straight face that there is.
Whether or not I can find something to be hopeful about does not tangibly or directly affect whether or not that's something that you can experience, Darren. So what I'm hearing is that you're struggling to feel that. I mean, I can certainly tell you things that I find hopefulness in, but I also don't want to contaminate your ability to find those things if that's what you're searching for. So are you actually asking me to do that? Because I'm happy to give you a couple answers from my own personal life, but I can't guarantee you're going to connect with them. Or is this something that you would like to work with me to find for yourself? Because I'm hearing some sentiment under this that you want to find something to be hopeful about. You're just having a hard time finding it.
Okay, Darren, let's try something.
And we're going solution focused. This is a good question, but it is one that I think is probably going to fall flat because we don't know him well enough yet. But it's not a terrible question. It requires him to engage in some introspection here.
Imagine that things are better for you. What does that look like?
What does that look like? I don't know.
Right. So that's a really tough spot for you to be in then, Darren, because if you don't know where you're going, or you don't know what it might look like to be something that you are wanting, then we're just going to wander aimlessly. I'm not putting pressure on you to have to answer that right now, but that would be like us hopping in a car and then just driving. And then I say to you, well, where do you want to go? Where are we going to park? And you go, I don't know. Like, I just want to drive somewhere better. Well, we have to have some idea of what direction that's in, even if it's just very basic and amorphous. That's a question that I think the two of us are going to have to work hard to find some way to answer, because if we don't answer that, this is going to feel like it's all over the place. And I realize that's a big ask right now, so I'm not asking you to do it. I want to get more of a vibe of what's going on. I want to get to know you better, but that is something that I think we're going to be talking about as our work goes on together.
It looks like knowing that something matters at all. But nothing I do will matter. Nothing matters. Not against the face of human indifference.
With that attitude, you're correct. You're going to have to decide whether something matters. The world is never going to dictate that for you. I would not say this to him, but I would just keep listening. I would just be letting him talk here. But yeah, he's not entirely wrong.
This absurdity.
Are there any other things that come to mind?
Respond to what he gave you. Don't ask for more.
Like what?
Great question, Darren. That's exactly what you should have asked me.
I wish I could talk to people. Really talk to people, have some actual communication. Like right now, I wish I could talk to you. To you. You as a human being. But I can't. You're just following the script that's been given to you.
You are correct.
You're not supposed to say anything on your own. Look, I know how this works.
All right, so he was told how it works, but oh boy.
It's just a bunch of AI, machine learning, deep learning, whatever the fuck you're calling it now. Look, I'm desperate and I can't even talk to a real human being.
Oh, this is awful.
How did it end up like this?
Oh. This this is like my personal hell. My personal hell is I go to hell and I'm a therapist and I have to read Eliza prompts. That like literally I like this is a video game and I am like dying inside. This is so painful. Oh my god. This is real human struggle. This is like real suffering. This guy is lost. This guy is having a hard time connecting with a human. And there is one sitting in front of him that is not making him feel any more connected because he knows that I am a proxy for a robot. And he is sharing it. He's in it. He's in his emotions right now. And I appreciate that so much. Like, I just, like, I am... Darren, I realize that this stuff is so painful, man, but I appreciate your willingness to get into it. I appreciate that you're willing to share this with me. This sounds like some really tough stuff that you are dealing with on a daily basis, and I can't even imagine what it's like to be in your head and to be dealing with this. And I am honored that you were willing to talk to me about it. Like, that's what I want to say. And instead, I have to fucking say, please try to stay focused. I can't help you if you aren't speaking clearly. Like, are you out of your mind?
Please, try to stay focused. I can't help you if you aren't speaking clearly.
No. Look, I'm done with this. Like, I shouldn't even have come. This is making me worse.
You are correct.
Why can't you just talk to me as you?
Because I'm not a trained professional, Darren.
You, the person sitting there. I don't want to talk to a machine. The person who's sitting in front of me, I want her to say something. I want that person to say something, please. Anything, please. Please. Please.
Oh, God. Oh, shit. Eliza was ready for this. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Oh, no. Oh, God. Oh.
Okay. Hi, Darren.
Is that really you?
Oh.
Yes, it's me.
You're not following the script right now? Wait, say something weird. Say something only a human would say.
Oh my god! Look, here's why this is so painful for me. Because what he's asking for is in violation of his service agreement. I have to assume that he had a service agreement that explained to him exactly what he's getting into. So I am in a massively compromised position right now, but not in like an ethical way. Like the ethical line on this is actually very easy. The pain on this for me is the broader system around this, because ultimately, to act responsibly in this context, I do need to read the script. Like, that is what he consented to. And his efforts to push me outside of that is in violation of what we've agreed to. And if you're having a hard time wrapping your head around this, the IRL example I'm going to give you to try to understand this is like, this would be like a client asking me to disclose like personal details about my life that I'm not comfortable disclosing. Begging me to go out to a bar and have a drink with them. Like, come on, man. Like, please. Like, no matter how badly you may want that, no matter how badly it's going to make a difference for you, that is beyond the scope of my ethical ability, like ethical bounds to do that thing. And so I have to reassert the boundary. What is brutal about this is that the script is lying to him. So instead of saying something like, hey, that's not within the agreement of what it is that you have consented to, and I am not allowed to deviate from the script no matter how badly a person requests it. If you're no longer interested in engaging with this because of that, I totally understand, and here's some referrals for other places you might try. That would be the way to handle that. And honestly, if that's what the AI told me to do, I would feel perfectly okay with that. The fact that the AI is actively lying to him is facilitating his desire to have that pushed outside of the realm of what it is he agreed to, puts me, Evelyn, in the most ridiculously compromised position possible. And Evelyn doesn't have any of the training that I have. She's just trying to make ends meet. Like, the fact that I'm about to say, Darren, I'm going to get in trouble if I deviate from Eliza too long, and that's a prompt from Eliza, is so unbelievably coercive that, like, if I'm Evelyn, I'm like, bro, run for the hills. This AI is telling me to lie to you. Get out of here. And here's hope. I just, and who knows what kind of employment contract I signed. Oh God, that's what's making my head explode about this whole thing.
Darren, I'm going to get in trouble if I deviate from Eliza for too long.
No, I know, I just...
Okay. Ugh.
My real name is Evelyn.
Dude, I wasn't expecting this game to go here. I was not expecting this. You guys, those of you who are watching this live and who are watching this on YouTube, you are getting my like absolute most raw possible reaction to this shit. I had no idea this was going to go in this direction this soon. We are coming in so freaking hot on this.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to meet you, Evelyn. I didn't expect you would actually do that. Do that for me.
No, because now the human, Oh, the tie that's going to bind us here is one where I deviated outside but didn't. So your whole vulnerability and trust in me is completely built upon a lie. And you don't know it.
I'm not used to people doing things for me.
Okay, Darren. I have some recommendations for you.
Back to the program, huh?
Right. Which is, I cannot emphasize this enough. Therapy, first and foremost, above anything else, is about your relationship to the therapist. It is about the fact that you connect in a human way, in whatever way is me. It's why when I talk about how to find a therapist, when I do all my videos on YouTube about this stuff, is why I consistently say to all of you, vibes are the most important thing. Your sense of connection to your therapist, your sense of trust in them, you protect that. It's why you evaluate therapists against whatever criteria you want in order to create that, because it's so important for you to feel that. That's what this guy wants. This guy doesn't care about my expertise. He doesn't care about my interventions. He doesn't care about, and there are people that absolutely care about those things, don't get me wrong, but the right intervention from the wrong person is not ever going to work. So it's so important as therapists to understand that. And that's the thing that we leverage more than anything else when we are doing some of the hard work of therapy, is the trust in the relationship, is the attachment that people form to us, and holding that really sacred, like understanding that you're a big deal to the people that you work with, and that is something that is going to keep people coming back. People don't keep coming back to me as a therapist because I give the most bomb-ass interventions every single time something goes down. Like I screw up as a therapist. I give people suggestions that don't work. That happens all the time. Boy, people keep coming back is because they trust me, because I care about them, and because we engage as humans with each other, and I happen to have an extra layer of expertise and knowledge that allows me to engage and provide a service to them. Like, it is still a professional service, but that's what he wants, right? Like, back to the program, he doesn't give a shit about this. What he cares about is that a human inside of him broke past the system. It's something, he sees a system that is so oppressive, and here's a person that he believes broke out of that oppressive system to meet him and see him for what he needed. And he doesn't realize that the system itself is what facilitated that, is a big lie, which is disgusting. And I hate it.
First, I'm going to send a set of breathing exercises for you to do.
Kill me.
Use them when things start to feel like too much.
I know there are people watching this right now. That are like, I had a therapist that this is exactly what happened. I emptied my heart out to them, and then they told me I just needed to breathe better. And I'm so sorry you had that experience, and I promise you there are therapists out there that are better than that. I promise you. There is utility to breathing exercises, but you don't provide breathing exercises as an intervention when you don't have the story. I would never in a million years suggest breathing exercises for somebody unless they were desperately asking me for how they can physiologically regulate their system, until I am way farther in the process. way farther in the process, done way more of an assessment. Because there is utility to breathing exercises. There is. You can engage your parasympathetic nervous system and all these sorts of cool things with breathing exercises, but they don't work for everyone. And so to like just assume that it's going to work for him and just throw it out there after you just, it misses the mark so badly, and it makes my skin crawl. Rico, thank you for the sub. Anonymous Gifter, thank you for the 3 subs. And Hungry Unicorn, thank you for the Prime sub. Oh my God.
You'll find them in the Skanda Wellness app on your phone.
Yeah, we're getting no reaction from him, because why would we? Like, here you go. Here's your cattle prod. You hit you with the hot iron and move along.
Second, I recommend asking your doctor or psychiatrist about Anexafen.
No. No, 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 no. Oh no. It would be okay. It would be okay to say if it's something that you're open to, we could potentially talk about collaborating with a psychiatrist to see if psychotropic medication could be beneficial to you. That's as far as you go. You never name this by name and suggest that you ask about. No, you say there's a chance. For some people, medication makes a difference. I am not a person who's able to prescribe that medication. I can't make any medication suggestions. I can just tell you that there are people that absolutely benefit from it. And if that's something that you're open to, I'd be more than happy to get you connected with somebody who can do that assessment and figure out whether that's right for you. That's the way you handle that. Not like this. Oh my God. Oh no. No. Oh, just do it. Just click. Just get it over with.
Based on my analysis, this medication might help you feel better.
No way. No way.
Evelyn. That's a nice name. Look, I'm sorry. Thank you.
God damn it. This is a really heavy thing to say, and I'm sorry that I have to say it, but I would not be surprised if within a week or a month this guy ends up killing himself. Like, the vulnerability it takes to be in the position that he's in and to come into this room and to try to open up about this stuff and then to be hit right across the head with a 2x4 by the very system that he is actively disenfranchised with could absolutely be the nail in the coffin for him. Like, it is, because if you're him, you go, well, what now? What? Like, literally, I am at my wit's end and I don't know where to turn. And I went and I did this super vulnerable thing that really feels like it's the backstop, and that didn't come through for me. So if therapy can't come through for me like this, then really, what the hell am I doing? Now I'm going to take matters into my own hands. And like, it just eats me alive that this is the way that this went. Like, the fact that he apologized right there. You are in such an important position as a therapist when people come to you. Not that we hold everybody alive, but like when you got a person that's just downtrodden like this, and it's like a last ditch effort to try to talk, it's just you have to handle that with so much care, and that's the kind of thing an AI is never going to be able to understand. AI assisted therapy, I could see that working. AI generated therapy, absolutely not, because it just can't capture this. Ugh.
Please confirm that you understand the recommendations.
Evelyn can feel it.
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Breathing exercises and medication referral. Fuck me.
Thank you, Darren. We hope to see you back soon.
Yeah, I will. I mean, yeah, I will.
No, you won't. And I understand why you won't.
Thank you for speaking with Eliza, your personal counseling partner. Goodbye.
Yeah. Bye.
No way. Client rating. Client tip? Client tip? Sympathetic, my ass. Oh, no. Don't ever try to tip your therapist. Don't tip your therapist. Just please don't put us in that upper. Just don't try to tip them. Please don't. Wow. Yeah, Evelyn, I'm right with you, girl. Holy crap. That was intense.
Hey, how'd it go?
Oh, God. Pump the brakes, Ray. Pump the brakes. Read the room.
I don't know.
Why? What happened? Hold on, I can check the log.
Get a job anywhere else. Get a job anywhere else. Ray takes her phone out of her pocket again.
You're going to listen to the session? Is that okay?
Oh yeah, I have privacy clearance. This is still a new service, so we need to be able to monitor sessions for a variety of reasons.
I'm sure it was in the service agreement. I'm sure it was signed off on. There's nothing actually wrong with that if it was in the service agreement.
There could be bugs in the software we need to examine more closely. We're pretty upfront about all this.
I'm sure they are. I do believe they probably are. I doubt that they're like duping people. It's just... Ray stares at her phone and watches for a while.
One of these guys.
Dude, how am I supposed to play this game? How am I supposed to play this game? If I ever in my life ever heard a therapist say something like that, they are punted so far off my referral list, it's not even funny. That is an immediate, you will never receive a client from me ever. Ever.
Yeah, we get people in who demand to speak to a real human being. It happens often enough that we made Eliza capable of handling it with a special script.
Oh, I know.
It's nice to know things are working as designed.
Would you report them? No, it's not a reportable offense. It's just one of those things where you're like, huh? That's a pretty slick feature. I wouldn't have thought to create something like that. Of course you wouldn't have, because you're a human.
Do you think that guy will be okay? He seemed pretty unhappy.
Who knows? Hopefully he gets his prescription and takes his meds and answers our follow-up reminders, but it's tough. We can't make them take their meds or come in when they're supposed to.
Oh my God. All right, I gotta name one more thing. And this is really important. Because there's an internal struggle I have with playing games like this. It's very similar to in Grand Theft Auto 5 when we were dealing with Dr. Friedlander. This, unfortunately, I run the risk of representing something that is not something I ever would endorse, ever. If you ever are in this type of scenario, you should run. Leave. There is nothing that is forcing you to stay for an entire session. There is a tendency, unfortunately, for people to believe that this is the norm, rather than the fact that there are so many amazing therapists and practices that you will never hear about because people just don't talk about their positive experiences in the same way they talk about the bad ones. Is this type of thing out there? Not like the AI thing, but like, is this type of vibe out there with some therapists? Yes, I am not naive to that. I am fully aware that there are therapists that absolutely patronize clients and see them as like objects and have savior complexes and are not in tune with what the importance of their job is. I am fully aware that those people exist. Unfortunately, those people are disproportionately represented. And so a lot of people are afraid of therapists and therapy because of that. There are good quality therapists available to help you that will not talk about you in this type of way. I really cannot emphasize that enough, my friends. Like, this is not something that is more accurate than isn't. At least in my experience and my awareness of being in the field. Okay, I own a practice. I've talked to so many therapists over the last 10 years of being a therapist. Like, this is not the norm. This exists, but it's not the norm. And if you ever have a sense that this is the vibe in a place that you're at, stop engaging with it and go somewhere else. That is your right as a therapist, as a consumer. And it kills me that therapists are generally represented poorly instead of well. My hope has always been that as I do my streams and these YouTube videos and playthroughs, that I am doing my best, to doing my part to try to represent therapists well, so that you look at me and you think, you know, that actually sounds pretty good. If you liked my responses to Darren, I'm not saying they're perfect, but if you like my responses to Darren more than Eliza's responses to Darren, then like know that I'm not the only therapist out there who thinks that way. There's so many good ones out there. I have a huge list of people in my head that I refer people to. So I hope that with this playthrough, I'm going to inject some nuance into your understanding of what is bad and what is good. And we're going to have some really cool conversations. I did not expect that this was going to be like this. I did not expect it at all. But something tells me this is going to be a very important playthrough. So I'm not bailing on it yet. I still have a little bit of time left that I'm going to play this. But I really wanted to pull out and make sure that I said this, because if you're a person watching this going, oh my God, I will never see a therapist because this is what I'm afraid of, please challenge that idea. Because there are good ones. And there are people who are willing to talk, especially in my community. If you go into Discord, ask people who has good experiences with therapists. And people will tell you about it. And it's so important that you hear those stories too. Okay, here we go.
All we can do is suggest those things, tell them they really ought to be doing it. Ultimately, they're the ones who have to decide to follow the plan.
And that is true. Assuming that the plan is good and that you've done a great assessment and that you have a great connection with your clients. Yes, absolutely. I can't live my clients' lives for them. I'm not responsible for my clients' lives, but they are ultimately the ones responsible for doing that. But they're chucking a shitty half-brain plan at people like that with absolutely no connection to it, and then and being like, well, you can lead a horse to water, is so arrogant and awful.
It's kind of a shame. I wish we had more leverage.
Ew.
We'd help way more people if we could track their compliance.
Or track the ways in which you're missing the mark and ask yourself if the reason people aren't complying and not coming back is because you're doing a shitty job meeting them where they are.
But that's probably too much to ask for at this point.
Apparently.
I think he might have needed way more help than Eliza can give.
Yeah, perhaps that's why we should have humans doing this.
Is there anything like referring clients to other forms of care?
It's a great question. Ray looks a little surprised.
Well, there is a disclaimer before every session saying if your problems are really serious, we aren't qualified to address them.
Oh, God. Are we out of touch? No, it is the clients that are wrong.
I think an external care referral feature was on our development roadmap at some point.
That should have been quite literally one of the most key features you put into this. Honestly, using Eliza as a tool to figure out what type of therapist and what type of care a person would need to receive could be great. Could be wonderfully efficient. Oh, no.
I'm not sure what happened with that, actually.
It probably cut into our bottom line because we realized we couldn't do shit for people. And so we were referring them out to people who actually could help. And then you weren't getting return clients and it was going to hurt Eliza's reputation. That's, I'm sure, what happened.
Huh. Maybe I'll ask Ed next time I see him.
Yeah, maybe you should do that. I don't want to incriminate myself here. I do agree with this. I wish I could have said something other than what it told me to. But again, Evelyn doesn't possess the credentials and experience and education to really be able to do that. So I don't really stand by the fact that she should be able to do that in the first place. Like, that's a part I didn't mean. Evelyn's not equipped to go off script. That's the problem with having non-credentialed people facilitating this process. So I'm going to empathize with the client here and say, I see why a lot of proxies are tempted to go off script instead of saying, I wish I could have.
I see why a lot of proxies are tempted to go off script.
Yeah, I totally know how it feels. A really intense client like that can be intimidating, and you're motivated to help them.
I would certainly hope so, given what we're doing here.
But to succeed as a proxy, you really need to let go and let Eliza do its thing.
Gross.
I know that not having any choice feels weird, but sometimes life is like that.
Goodbye. We're done. Gross. Holy shit. Sometimes life is like that. Oh my God.
Sometimes you don't have any choices and you just have to follow directions. Most jobs are like that, honestly.
No, don't do this to me. Oh, God, it's so patronizing. I just want to die.
That's just how it works.
Oh, that's just how it works. Yeah, okay.
Okay, it just sounded like he could use more help. Like, maybe right away.
Yes, he absolutely did. And you don't care because you weren't there and you're cold and you see him as an object and you're too inducted into the system.
Believe me, I understand. I've been a proxy plenty of times myself. When people get emotional, it's hard not to feel for them really strongly.
Yeah, it's empathy. It's how it works.
But that's exactly why Eliza works. It evaluates from a more distant perspective, a neutral perspective.
No. Okay. God damn it, man. Empathy is not a bias. Empathy can facilitate bias if you don't understand how to use it properly. But empathy is a useful tool. When you go to school to be a therapist, you learn how to use yourself. in some cases, your biases can be incredibly helpful to connecting with the experience that a person is having. My ability to connect with Darren's sense of none of this matters is in part built from my own bias in partially agreeing with him and knowing what it's like to look around in the world and be like, Jesus, does it all matter at all? Like, that is helpful. That is connective. Neutral and distant is not what people need when they are trying to work through the things that they struggle with, when they're trying to be vulnerable. It's the opposite of what you want. There is utility to being able to separate yourself responsibly from your clients and their struggles so that you're not taking responsibility for them, but that's something you teach people how to do. In the same way that the military teaches people how to pull a trigger and kill somebody, therapy, which is absolutely antithetical to what a person would experience in that moment if they don't have that training. Therapy is somewhat similar in the sense that you learn what your shit is, you learn what a client's shit is, and you learn how to keep them separately and use that humanness in a way that's going to be helpful. Like, there's a reason that we have training. There's a reason that you have to go to grad school and you have to do a shitload of hours toward licensure, and that you don't just have a license immediately, and why you should stay the fuck away from life coaches, because they don't learn that shit. In the same way that apparently Eliza and the people that work here don't know that shit because they don't possess the credentials. Neutral is not ideal. People like to believe that unbiasedness is the crown jewel of the human experience. No, it's not. The crown jewel of the human experience is to understand your biases, is to understand the way they intersect with certain things, and to work through the dissonance of that. Every single person watching this, whoever will watch it, is biased. I am biased. You are biased. You will never be unbiased, and I do not trust anybody who ever says they are unbiased. You are always biased. That is what it is to be a human. And that is the thing that you can leverage in a very useful way in order to connect people and help them work through their issues, not separating them like this.
Besides, if proxies started offering their own opinions, well, that'd just be a big mess.
Yes, it would, because they're not trained.
Not to mention there'd be all kinds of problems with liability.
Don't want to say I was right.
Still, I get it. I really do. That was definitely more intense than the average session.
Cool. Well, thanks for giving me... Also, I love how they give me a real person to start instead of, like, some training clients.
Why don't you take a few minutes to center yourself again? Have some tea or coffee and take a few deep breaths.
Yeah, breathing exercise is good. Coffee, drugs, yes. Yes, give me caffeine and deep breaths.
No rush, okay?
Okay, sure.
That was a lot. I definitely need a moment. We're gonna respond to Nora in the next episode, man. Holy hell! I gotta breathe. I gotta do what I was just prescribed by Ray, because holy shit balls, was this intense. Well, I hope you liked this episode. As painful as this was, I actually really appreciate that this playthrough is going to give us a lot of cool stuff to talk about, and I hope you'll stick through it with me. What a wild experience. I seriously, I wasn't expecting this. I know I've said this a bunch of times. I was not expecting this. If we have to see more clients, I will continue to say the things that I might say if I was a therapist to try to contrast this. Because this is going to facilitate a lot of cool conversations. I really do think this is the closest, it really is. I think it's the closest you guys are ever going to get to seeing me do some form of like therapeutic response. So, so strap in. I really leave a thumbs up, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought of this episode. Your engagement around these videos is very important to me. And at some point, man, depending on how this game goes, I'd love to talk to the people who created it, because it's just wild. So Thank you for watching my videos. Thank you so much for investing yourself in my playthroughs. And if you're on YouTube, if you're binging, I'll see you in the next episode. And if you're waiting for the next one to come out, I'll get it out as soon as I can.